Coming up on Mountain News this morning, a man serving prison time in connection to the death of a Scott County teenager tells the parole board he does not deserve to get out. And Pikeville is taking a closer look at stricter measures for downtown parking.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning, I'm Olivia Calfee. The time is 6 a.m. on Thursday, December 28th. Now let's send it over to meteorologist Shane Smith for a look at your forecast this morning.
We are seeing a little bit of rain across the mountains this morning, Olivia. Good morning to you and good morning to our folks at home. Satellite and radar showing a little bit of light precipitation, mainly along the mountain parkway this morning. As we swap things over to pinpoint Doppler and zoom in, you can see just from the northwest of Jackson through Stanton, Campton, back up towards Winchester, a little bit of light rain. Elsewhere, we are dealing with some dense fog outside the WYMT studio right now. It is dry, 39 degrees. Jenkins, US 119 and 23, dry. And we had a few showers earlier near Mount Vernon, but those have moved off to the north and the east. Temperatures right around the 40 mark for most folks this morning. A few spots checking in a little bit cooler than that, especially my friends down in Wise, Virginia. But the fog, the big story in the Big Sandy and down around Harlan, we are seeing a few spots where visibility has dropped down to near zero. So foggy for some this morning, others just chilly. We will see those temperatures only topping out into the mid 40s, and we will see dry conditions once this initial batch of rain moves out for most of us. 1 or 2 stray showers possible today. But the big story could be some winter weather heading our way for tomorrow and Saturday. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes.
All right, Shane, thank you. The executive director of the Kentucky Opioid Abatement Advisory Commission is resigning. The Lexington Herald reports Brian Hubbard's resignation letter comes nearly a week after Attorney General-elect Russell Coleman chose a new chair. Hubbard wrote in his letter that since new leadership has been requested, he'll officially resign from his position on Sunday. Although this time of year can be exciting for many of us, it can be triggering for those in early recovery or active addiction, leading many people to seek recovery treatment or to relapse. Alyssa Williams spoke with recovery workers to find out more about the trends they are seeing during and after the holidays.
The holidays can be a time many of us look forward to, but for those in recovery or active addiction, it can be a time of stress and anxiety.
Whether individuals no longer have contact with their family, there's been a lot of harm done, and so there's been a firm boundary put. It can be difficult for mothers and fathers who have not had the opportunity to be reunited with their children and just experiencing that sober for the first time and not having those substances that can kind of dole that out.
Kara Brown Floyd with the Recovery Cafe says she sees more people seeking their services during this time of year.
But we can also see at times an uptick in people isolating. It's very easy to kind of isolate, not want to be around people. It can be very difficult.
Kevin Schmidt with Addiction Recovery Care says this time also brings more relapses.
You know, when we see an increase in intakes and admissions, we typically also see a slight increase in people leaving against medical advice, so that does happen.
Overdoses may also increase during the winter months, a topic that hits close to home for Brown Floyd.
We did recently lose one of our community members to an overdose, and it's unfortunate. It's a reminder that it's not getting any better out there, and that the importance of the work that we're doing here and having our doors open, having a place for our members to come and stay connected.
For those struggling right now, help is always out there.
And just have the willingness to do the next right thing and to reach out, and you'd be surprised how far you can go.
In Lexington, Alyssa Williams, WKYT.
Brown Floyd says the Recovery Cafe is aiming to help those they serve right now through engaging activities like creating vision boards for the things they hope to improve on and accomplish going into 2024. A man convicted of killing a pregnant Scott County teen says he does not want parole. Roger Macbeth told the parole board he wasn't interested in parole, saying he knows he doesn't deserve it. He's been incarcerated for nearly 20 years for the death of his ex-girlfriend, Ashley Lyons. Lyons was 18 years old and 5 months pregnant when she was found shot to death in her car.
I'm not here to convince y'all to give me parole. I know I don't deserve it. But I do want to use this time to say that I'm truly sorry for what I did. That I want to tell Ashley's family that I am truly sorry for what I did. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about it.
After Macbeth's original trial, the Supreme Court ruled prosecutors used illegally obtained evidence and overturned the verdict. 3 years later, Macbeth took a plea deal for a lesser charge. A judge sentenced him to 42 years. Yesterday was his first time up for parole. Pikeville will soon put to use a new service to help monitor parking in the city. WYMT's Buddy Forbes has more about the camera-centric changes.
Surveillance on the streets of Pikeville may soon change the way parking is policed.
Our officers work hard, and they do things besides just law enforcement. The time that they spend walking around, checking to see how long somebody's parked, could be better spent elsewhere for the community.
The city just heard its second reading of an ordinance relating to plans to employ an automated camera system to monitor parking on the downtown streets.
Once they park, it knows when they are, still parking there. 2 hours and 1 minute later or whatever, then it knows they violated that space's time limit, and it will basically go through the entire process of writing a ticket, mailing it out, so that we can encourage people to move more frequently.
The changes come after a court case in 2019 that deemed marking tires with chalk, which was originally the city's primary form of metering, unconstitutional.
Ideally, we don't want anybody to ever get a ticket. We want people to do their business and move on to another space.
The ordinance also includes a $10 increase in many of the fine costs associated with parking violations. But officials say the change is about more than charging the people. It is about changing a pattern.
If people feel like they have nowhere to park, then they're just going to go, on down to the Commons or Walmart, which is great for those businesses. But our downtown businesses need those customers too.
Keeping the cars moving to keep the city growing. In Pikeville, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
County clerk offices across Kentucky will see a big change in 2024. Starting next year, license plates will follow people, not vehicles. The new method is called plate to owner. Kentucky lawmakers actually made the change back in 2011, but clerks' offices have not had the technology to make the switch. With plate to owner, if you sell or trade a car, you can keep the license plate.
If you sell your vehicle, take your plate off, hang on to it, and then once your vehicle is titled into your name, or if you're here doing that in the county clerk's office, we'll transfer this old plate onto your new vehicle at that time.
As part of this transition, state officials need to transfer more than 350 million records. County clerk offices statewide are closing on January 1st. They will reopen once the new system is online. That is expected to take place between 4 and 10 days. So some motor vehicle offices will be closed beginning as early as Friday as staff members train on a new online system. This means vehicle registrations, title transfers, and license plate renewals will not be available until at least January 11th. The Warren County Clerk says the current system was implemented in 1983 and an upgrade is long overdue. However, she stresses that with a brand new system, there will be a learning curve for customers and staff. Governor Beshear is getting ready to give his State of the Commonwealth address. Beshear will give the speech in less than a week. That is a day after state lawmakers return to Frankfort for the General Assembly. Beshear and lawmakers will have to approve a new state budget during the session. The 2024 election season is ramping up with the first presidential primary just a few weeks away. Kentucky election leaders say that also means important deadlines for voters. Voters who want to change their political party affiliations must do so before the end of New Year's Eve. You can make the change at govoteky.com or in person at a county clerk's office. Kentucky primaries are closed, meaning you can only vote in party elections in which you were registered for.
Current time 6:10, time for another check of the forecast, and we are seeing dry conditions for most of the mountains this morning, but some of us dealing with a little bit of rain. Here's a look at our WeatherCam network outside the WYMT studio. We are dry, fog in downtown Pikeville, 41 right now, and 40 in Corbin with clear conditions along I-75. Satellite and radar over the last 6 hours shows we had a little bit of rain out in our western counties over the last few hours. That is lifting off to the east and northeast. It'll be on out of here in the next hour or two, and then we will expect mainly dry conditions for the rest of the day. Temperatures currently into the upper 30s and low 40s. The visibility is low in the Big Sandy and down around Harlan. So just know for some of our folks in some of those valley locations, it is going to be a little bit of a treacherous morning commute. Temperatures only topping out in the mid 40s today. However, cooler weather is on the way, and that could lead to a few flakes. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes.
Thank you, Shane, and thanks for joining Mountain News this morning. More news is on the way. Coming up, there was a high-stakes meeting in Mexico yesterday as the border crisis continues.